Hello, cousins. Welcome to SASS. SASS Mass is our spirituality and support symposium. Think morning witchy chats around a warm campfire. The recording has started, and by participating in SASS, you agree to read and accept the terms of engagement, which we'll post in the chat. We ask that you mute during the recording for clarity during the meeting and for the afterplay. We'll now get started with a few announcements.
Hey witches, I'm Maria here for the announcements. So we are turning to like the end of the month now. And so we are in Foundations program. We are working on getting ready for the spellcraft. So if any Foundations witches have questions, reach out in the chat on the app. We meet the 21st of every month for that, and we are excited for the ritual crew to be facilitating that. So we have Kat excited, and that should be a good one. They're all good ones. I wanted to mention something just about foundations that we have a bunch of witches coming up their year and a day anniversary and foundation. So between October, November, December, January, we had some witches. So you'll be getting, if that is you, you'll be getting an email from me within the next couple of weeks to invite you into the guild. And as Gemmary's kind of been talking about, the guild is really the coven of Bright and Dark, and we're like working and talking within the guild about what that looks like as it unfolds more. So it's actually a really exciting time. Sorry, I realized I'm moving a lot. I hope I didn't get anybody dizzy. Um, so it's actually a very exciting time for us for that. So yes, it will be like around your anniversary month. Um, reach out if you have any questions about that, but I'll be reaching out to those witches via email. We also have exciting things going on in the app space, which I think everyone got the notification about, but we have 2 clubs, soon to be 3 clubs. So check that out. The difference between I'll probably like do a little video or in where like preparing more like information and tools behind the scenes for a lot of different things actually. But the clubs are, I'd say, like a more casual. You can definitely like jump on, just like you sign up for the club, you can kind of come in the moment, where it's more kind of free flowing in that way, even though Gemry in her clubs will be preparing those crafts. And so we'll see how that unfolds. But as far as like what's the difference between clubs and foundations? So clubs are like a little more casual style where you can learn a lot of great tips and tricks. A lot more focused on the witchcraft side of things for those that are looking for that. Foundations is a more of a commitment where we have a flow and a structure throughout the month. That is going to be your shadow work focus. And so if you're looking to practice connection-based magic while doing your shadow work, which is very powerful, Foundations is the place. It's the only place like it that I know of. So reach out if you have questions about that, if you want to talk about that. And we've got workshops coming up. We got one on feeling feelings, December 4th. We've got another workshop coming up also in December with Ocean and Ezra. We've got a new meeting for Foundation. So I hope witches are able to join in Monday nights with Ezra for shadow play. And that's been an awesome addition already in just a short time to Foundations. So we have so many exciting things going on. The app has been like really exciting. People are really chatting in there, and that's been great to see. It's like it's the busiest it's ever been with all the witches that have been coming in. So we'll keep you posted on everything. You can hit us up in the app, and also we have an email. It's support@brightanddark.org. You can always email us there too. You can also go to the website and we have a little chat. You can reach us from any of those places and we will get back to you. If anyone else has announcements, you can raise your hand. If you do not, I'll pass it over to Jen Marie to kick off the conversation.
I gotta show you what we did in the Chaos Cauldron yesterday because it's so cool. Like, look at that. It's a makeup remover that uses blue tansy oil. Have you ever used blue tansy? I haven't, and I wanted to play with it. And like it's pretty cool, but that's essentially what we're doing in that club. It's just like experimenting with fun and different things. But yeah, hi guys, how are you feeling this week? Coming out of that full moon. Woo. Yeah, am I right? We were talking in the guild the other night about how like if we're really looking at the whole year, we only really have 2 weeks left of what we keep referring to as like the inward turn, this deep introspective time, this time that's really ripe for turning inward and asking yourselves those questions of like, what do I really want? Like, what are my dreams? What is aligned for me? And creating a plan comes later. Now is just like this time of feeling, but that time of feeling is about to come to a close with this, like the birth of the new sun on the 21st of December. It's like it's exciting times. It goes so fast though. I feel like this season has gone really, really, really quickly. Is it just me? I think there's just a lot going on too, just everywhere. But if this is your first SASS, I am just kicking off conversation. If at any moment you want to be like, hey, I have this question, or I want to talk about this, you're welcome to. And it can be something completely different than what I'm talking about. It doesn't even have to relate like at all. I'm just kind of feeling into what to talk about or what's been highlighted for me this week. Gosh, it's so much though. The way that I experienced this full moon was in a like, let's break things kind of a spirit. And so yeah, that's where I've been coming up with creative ways to break things and really thoroughly enjoying the process. Leaning in. And creating content and that kind of stuff, helping you guys come up with creative ways to break things. I love my life. I love that I get to do this. I love that this is what I get to do, like with my lived experiences, hang out with you guys and be able to even have these conversations. I was just talking to someone that so this meeting is inspired by meetings that I used to facilitate like 10, 15 years ago in a local community that I was engaging with. And we used to sit around and color in pages, like coloring books and stuff, and talk about life, have conversations. And those meetings were inspired by when I used to sit around fire and talk with like elders in the community and stuff about magic and life and stuff. And I've been talking to a friend of mine that I haven't talked to since I left Oregon that first time, and then went to Alaska for like 10 years. And they were someone that used to go to those like SASS meetings. And I just told them that, like revived it like 3 years ago, and now we have witches all over the world that get to hang out together and do the same thing. And that is so, like, I find it interesting that this person came back into my life at this time where I'm actually like telling our story, and they're like, no way, because this is something that we were into. I've always been into this, guys, by the way, in different forms. And to be able to share that this dream that we shared and worked on together so long ago is so fully realized in this way, is at this time when I'm about to come out of like my cocoon, my salty cocoon, is really exciting for me, because like what we're doing here is powerful. I mean, you guys wouldn't be here if you didn't believe that as well, and feel as if, like what we were talking about in the live this morning, having a community like space where when you leave that space, you feel more yourself and you feel like enriched and fulfilled when you leave that space. And that's how I feel when I leave this space. And that's how I feel every time I leave spaces that we are all together like this. And I think that that is, thank you for that, for one, because you guys are what make that happen. It's all of us choosing to show up like this that makes this space what it is. It's pretty great. I love getting to stare awkwardly at you guys. Oh, we all like figure out what to say. Can you guys hear the rain? It's raining really hard right now.
I can't hear the rain on your audio, but I can hear the rain.
Unless Jen Marie is like on another planet, I would hope that you could hear the rain too, Kim. Unless like we got something else going on. Possible.
My RV is going to be like the magic school bus, and I could be like, today, let's go on a safari.
There was lots of full moon chatter on the app. How's everybody feeling today? Anybody want to share their experience or any revelations? What did the full moon illuminate for you? Ellie, hello.
There we go. Hello. So I think the full moon this month for me kind of actually tied into the cards that I pulled this morning at the live. I pulled, oh shoot, where's my, I pulled, wow, of course my brain's going blank now. I pulled the Ten of Pentacles, and the Emperor is my blockage. And what I really kind of am buckling down on right now is my own self-discipline and holding myself accountable for things. And so I feel like the cards that I pulled this morning really reflected that in order to leave the best version or show the best version of myself and let people see who I am and what I am and what I really want to leave this world with, is I need to actually follow through with things. The emperor told me that I need more structure, more organization, more self-discipline. I need to really just hold myself accountable for those things. And every full moon, I always, burn a petition paper for what I want to release and what's not serving me. And what I released this time was hesitation, because I feel like I just get in my own head a lot and I don't let myself just do things, or I hesitate, I hold back, maybe I lack confidence or some other things, but I just need to do stuff and I need to get out of my own way in order to do things that would help me connect more with my higher self.
Is that, can I weigh in, Kelly? Is that
Of
complete for
course,
you at
yeah,
this
no, I
moment?
would invite anybody to weigh in that wants to share.
Thanks. I was laughing because sometimes the hardest thing I do all day is like come off mute, write in the chat, raise my hand, like those steps, like the like let me do the things. So what pinged me as you were talking is the journey of the things that you were like saying, like that you feel, called to action. And we know that like um when we do release and things do become illuminated for us, we do need to kind of put an action to it. But I just wanted to see how you felt about the action that you kind of mentioned when you were like pretty much like get your shit together type of stuff. And for me, the process kind of changed a bit with the shadow work because just so basically it's just kind of like a check-in, like to calibrate what your action to like your authenticity and not to like the social conditioning of what we like think needs to get done or based on that. And so I just wanted to see like how you felt about that, where you were with that. Did that make sense?
Yeah, as far as the social conditioning, what really actually pushed me to join foundations was a live that Jen Marie did um about, it was a fabulous rant about Big Cappy Pappy, and just how we're conditioned that our sense of self-worth is tied into our productivity and what we're able to, quote unquote produce. And so right now, I am figuring out the balance between my day life and my day job and my practice and my what I have outside of work, which I actually work in veterinary medicine and I'm very, very passionate about it. And it's a really hard job, but I love my job and I'm really deeply tied into that emotionally and in a lot of ways. But it's a very intensive job and it makes me miss a lot of the lives and a lot of the social things that Bright and Dark does, which is really hard. And when I say that I need to get out of my own way and I just need to do stuff and I need to stop hesitating, is I have been procrastinating with the foundation's work and everything because A, I'm tired at the end of the day, and B, I have kind of had a hard time figuring out because I just jumped in October. And so I feel like I'm jumping in. I don't know if it's exactly laid out, like January is where you start and then you work your way through. And am I missing a lot of prior work jumping into October versus I feel like I'm missing out on a lot and then it makes me sad and then I pout and then I just don't do anything. So that's kind of where my head is at as far as just getting my shit together and doing stuff.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a common thing. Definitely that has happened. I definitely have gone through that myself. Yes, I agree with Coral. You definitely arrived in the perfect time. So foundations is, and can you hear the football game in the background that my boyfriend is
No.
watching? Okay, good. So the if you hear yelling, everything's okay. He's just yelling at the television. Foundations is a 12-month working, and whenever you feel called to join is the right time. The way that it's designed is you can jump in at, you know, any time. We're looking to like kind of make some in a little bit more enhancements and things like that, but that's still in the works. But as of right now, it's designed where you can jump in anytime. So every month we go through the same journal prompts and the spellcraft. So it is the same moon focus. So yes, you be with like different groups of people depending on who shows up at those meetings, but the work will be done. Like the journey of foundations of that shadow work will be done if you commit, you know, to coming to the 12 months. I and let us know, like, you know, it's always nice to know like what people's schedules are, just in case like if people share that with us more too, we can try to accommodate as much as we can, because as you know, like it's all time zones. We're in all time zones. But the and foundations is great for that. It can be self-paced, and it like, then I agree with you. I also struggled with like, I loved coming to meetings, but then it was like the work outside of that and making time for that, and then like actually sitting and doing some journaling or doing some reflecting or meditation or even pulling the cards. But um you're probably doing more than you think you are. I've I have a busy, I don't like the word busy, but that's the word I have at the moment. I have the busy lifestyle too, and so my life, a lot of my life is finding magic in the mundane. Like I'm making tea right now, and that's like a magical experience for me. So then there's those like moments of finding magic in whatever you do. Like every meal that you cook is a spell, right? Every meal that you cook is a recipe, is a spell. So like kind of things like that, magic in the mundane. But foundations, you know, we have that workbook. And if you, I don't know, Kelly, if you were, I was only able to stay for a few minutes, but we had the dedication on the 15th, which we do the 15th of every month. And if you did miss it, email us because we can send you the recording. But if you, and that's making the foundation's dedication candle. But in that meeting, kind of just talked about flow. And so you can get that journal prompt at the beginning of the month and interact with it. The more that you interact with that and the workbook itself and the prompts in there, the practical applications, that can all be self-paced. So think of it like the first of the month, and then kind of around the 10th, 12th is where we start to kind of prepare for the spellcraft. And then kind of at the end of the month, thinking about like a reflection of the month. And sacred space, if you can prioritize getting to one of those two meetings, and also any of the Monday meetings from Ezra, because those aren't recorded. And being able to just talk about the shadow work and hearing different perspectives is really where I felt like really big shifts happen. And then our witch work circle at the end of the month where we do our spell card, that is recorded. So that you can always go back to. So I don't know if that was helpful. You are not alone. And just keep like, if you're feeling disconnected, just like reach out to us because one of us will help you. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. My just to throw it out to illustrate, my schedule is 8 to 6 most days.
What time zone are you in?
Pacific.
Okay, thanks.
So that's squarely encompasses most of the meetings except on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. 8 to 6. Monday through Friday, or do you work on the weekends too?
I work 8 to 2 on Saturday, and then I have Tuesday off.
Okay.
Not that, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you guys have to change anything for me. It's one of those things where vet med, the schedule is the schedule, and I know other people deal with similar things in other industries.
Yeah, it's good to know. This people's schedules though, just to see. All right, I think that it was Stephanie that had their hand up. Yes, Stephanie, over to you.
Kelly, I just wanted to say that a lot of that resonated with me and how I felt very early on in foundations myself. Um, it was really challenging to make the meetings for me. I'm on the East Coast, so that makes things really late, and I have a lot of people that depend on me, and I usually work until I fall down until around 9 o'clock at night. So I watched a lot of replays and I did a lot of the work independently. Um, and I missed the community piece, and that was a struggle. But the more that I worked through the program, the more there was all of a sudden time and energy for more of the community. And I can't say exactly why that happened or what changed, if that was within me or what. But there were months at a time when I couldn't get to a meeting, but I kept doing the work on my own. And then just one day, there was more and more community, and I still struggle to get some of the late meetings, that are hard for me. But I just wanted to share that because it isn't just you. I think it's a pretty common feeling early in the program, trying to find your footing and your rhythm. So, don't beat yourself up like I did because a lot of us do it. So I'm going to pass it on to Whit.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Hello. I'm driving right now, so I'll put my hand down in a minute. But hello, Kelly. Yes, I feel your pain and your struggle with that as well too. I have a pretty intense job that I work from probably 8 to 6 most days, and then I come home and I'm exhausted, and it's hard to get the energy even to sometimes join meetings. And just one, like what everybody else is, what Maria and Stephanie have already shared, but also another thing that I found that I still struggle with. So this is not me saying, oh, all you have to do is just do one little thing and it'll be great. But also thinking about not doing it perfectly and not doing it, you were talking about, oh, I'm going to commit myself and I'm going to do it. For 2 years, I think I had that of like, oh, I'm going to make a list. I'm going to get things done. And I'm going to do it. But that was me kind of sabotaging myself a little bit too, of like, well, then what happens when I can't do it that way? And so what I really strive now is to do it though wherever I am in that moment. So if it is just I can only pull one card, then I'm going to pull a card. If I can't get onto a meeting, then maybe I want to go and like read the community chat or something later. Just finding those moments that you can still connect and realizing that this is a journey. And just because you might not be able to understand something right now or it's not resonating like super deep with you doesn't mean that it's not going to click into place later. And so I like to think of like I'm going to do it imperfectly. I'm going to do it, out of order. I'm going to do it whatever, but I'm still going to do something. And that's kind of helped me release some of those expectations I had for myself. Like I said, I'm still not perfect with it, but I've got 38 years of my perfectionism that I've built it up. So 3 years isn't enough to completely tear it down yet. I'm getting there though. So Not sure if that resonates or not, or if it resonates with anybody else, but that I just wanted to share that little tidbit of you don't have to do it perfectly. So thank you. And I can't look at the chat, so Silver, if you could help me out with seeing if there's anybody next.
Thank you, Whit.
I'm jumping in. I'm diving in with the swan dive. So Kelly. Hi.
Hello.
What all of them said, you can't do this wrong. A lot of foundations is learning how to observe and how to show up for yourself, how to recognize like the places of your own authority and kind of practice that. And it's really uncomfortable at first for everyone. I don't know any witch that has gone through foundations that was like, yeah, the first 90 days were great. It felt perfectly aligned right away. It's usually this like needing to change your rhythm, and that's a part of any really good initiatory process, because it takes you a little bit out of your comfort zone so that you start questioning some of that a little bit more, right? And you cannot miss anything. You're not missing anything. If you're not able to make a meeting, you can still, like, that's still really good information. And you can, like what Marie said, that you can do a self-led bit and come back and like ask for support. Everyone in the guild is a geek about the work that you're doing in foundations and would love to answer questions about that work. So, but on your part, it can be really hard to take up space, and can be really hard to reach out and ask, because so many of us have that have been traumatized socially in that way. So this is a safe place for you to advocate for your needs. And, you know, when I talk about foundations is a living, working. It adapts to those that are participating, and it adapts with every witch that comes up through it. The more you communicate with those of us that are here to serve you, the more we can make sure that your needs are being met, right? And you get to practice advocating for your needs in a safe space, so that starts kind of rebalance that for you. Does that make sense? The first couple of year witches that went through foundations didn't have a workbook even. they had very little support. Go ahead, Silver.
I just wanted to ask if there was any specific questions that while you have this Sunday off that you wanted to ask. It sounds like you might be able to make a sacred space like at 9 at some point, but you know, I also I think I just wanted to also validate that for a while in the beginning, I also couldn't make a whole lot of the meetings. So for me, and just interacting with the journal prompt and learning to figure out the crafting on my own was really helpful. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, like it seemed like we were pretty quiet today otherwise, so I don't think it's going to be hijacking anything.
And the conversation's always aligned because we are actively like seeing, you know, where we need to shift, pivot, and all the places. So like this information is actually super helpful to the greater community when we do talk about your needs and what you want and what would be ideal for you, how you can shift things. And even if Kelly, the whole SASS was about you, that's like, oh, like that would be our pleasure. Like that would be okay. You know, just like that's what we're doing here. So But if something pops up in your brain and yeah, just let us know. Karen has their hand up.
Oop, 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 hitting buttons. Are we ready for any topic? Okay. So this has been kind of floating around in the back of my mind, and I figured it was kind of slow today, so I will bring it up. Sorry about the light behind me. We got snow last night. So with the Halloween ritual, there was a lot of conversation about ancestral veneration, I think you called it. And that there's been a lot of talk about, my DNA has gone on for thousands of years to build me, which totally get. And but I find I'm not really like it doesn't there's just nothing there that calls to me at all. There's no interest, and I've kind of tried to well, maybe this is just me blocking. I'm like, okay, well, I'm open, I guess. I don't know. And then Morgana was talking about having she's yeah, she said she has tea with her ancestors. And I was so intrigued. I'm like, I want to have tea with my ancestors, but I don't know any of them. And then I think about who else would I want to have tea with, and it's the people that I feel more attached to, the people I've had lives with the live lineage versus the life lineage versus the DNA lineage. And I was like, well, it probably doesn't matter. I know most of your answers are going to be whatever connects to you, right? But it does, there's just such a conversation about the DNA. So I don't know. This has just been kind of rolling around in my head. I don't have any specific question, just, I don't know. Interesting topic, I guess. I don't know who had the first weigh in. Sorry, I didn't see. Is that Maria or Silver? I don't know who's the support screen.
I just wanted to make sure with Virginie, were you weighing in or were you doing a different thing?
For me, it would be to speak about something else, but also weighing in.
Sure.
I would say the first I started to do therapy a year and a half ago, and it helped me a lot. And what of the some of the subject what I spoke with the person was about my own identity, how I saw myself, and being a woman is part of it. But before this therapy, I saw myself as a female body, if you get a little what I mean. Female body with a female part, with a female role, with the female jobs or perception of the job, things like that. I didn't felt myself as being a woman myself, and it started with this therapy. And you say that you think maybe you might be blocking. But I discovered for me that I was doing that in fact. And because I didn't saw myself as a woman in being a woman, I don't know how really to explain it. And so all the problem a woman could have at a job or with men or with the society perception. It was mysterious to myself. I didn't. First of all, it didn't happen to me. In fact, nothing of that. All those experiences, I went through none of it before this therapy, and after the start of this therapy, I feel like I started to reconnect with being a woman and with the world and with the side I can't say the word society, and with the good and the bad aspect, and with what's happening for you in USA, the bad aspects are coming strongly, and it has been a few months for me where it's been a lot to digest, because what women are worried about, before I felt like I wasn't a part of it, but I'm part of it because I'm a woman. I'm a woman, in fact. And for the other subject, I can speak of it at another moment, if it's okay with everyone.
I'm sorry. What was the question? My cat was clawing on my back, so I missed the last what the question was.
We're gonna circle back to Virginie with a topic change after the weigh-ins.
Okay, perfect. I
Mercy,
think
stop hurting my friend.
she decides to like perch on my back to groom herself, and then of course she loses balance. Let's see. I was just gonna throw in real quick, because I think Jen Marie is right after me, and so I'll pass it over. But for the ancestor thing, I remember thinking that she's about to fall off. I remember thinking about how like I had just taken, the first time this question came around, I had just taken like a physical anthropology class, and it was just very much like reinforced how much how much like where we came from, like biologically, like humans. And so I was like, oh, like we all came from the ocean, so like the ocean is my ancestor. And like every animal that we like kind of like evolved, you know, in between. And so I ended up, as somebody who has a deep connection to animals, like kind of focusing on that. And then, you know, I also had some like Jewish stuff, like Jewish ancestor thing come up. So I think your interpretation of it, like if you resonate more with like past lives, if that's what you said, I think that's a perfectly fine interpretation of it, if that is what's like highlighted for you right now. So go ahead, Jen Marie.
I've been fascinated with ancestral work the last like 3 years. I have not always been drawn to ancestral veneration work. And I don't think that, especially those of us in the States that don't really have a connection with like ancestral roots, or we don't feel like we do, it's a trickier subject, right? It's a little bit more like challenging. But the more I learn about my like physical body and the influence of my genetics on how I actually like experience life, the more I am seeing that ancestral influence isn't just like a spiritual thing, it's actually like it's like a physical thing too. And so I've been doing more of it in the last few years. And the way that I did the way I do ancestral veneration as a, white American woman is, and a cycle breaker, because that's what I am in my family. I consider myself the one in the family to shake shit up and to start asking the questions and to be breaking those like traditions that might be problematic and pointing out like where they're problematic. And so when I do ancestral veneration, those are the ancestors that I have that support that work, that like lent that their stubbornness and tenacity and their big mouth and their like, don't tell me what to do-ness. Like those are the ancestors that I'm venerating. I'm like, I am making the choices that you couldn't make in your incarnation because that wasn't a safe time for you to do it. That's when I do ancestral veneration, that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing my line back to reconnecting with the earth and functioning from a more connected place. And when in my annual tradition, everything that I do over the course of the year that is further adding to or embodying those traits that I got from my ancestors, the tenacity and the like, stubbornness and everything. I offer those to them as like, here's the offering to the family. Here's the fruit bearing on, this here branch. Right. And that's what I see as ancestral veneration, but it is also, as a white American like woman, I have a lot of it's the shadow work. I have a lot of shit to break in the ways that I like ancestral curse kinds of things, of ways that I was taught to engage with my life that are actually sabotaging my ability to connect and sabotaging my ability to engage with my life in a way that is aligned with me. And so I also do a lot of release work when I do ancestral veneration, because it's hey, ancestors that made decisions that I don't agree with, this ends here. I am not going to pass this along. So there's that kind of release that happens, of like making a declaration to my entire line that the buck stops here. I'm not doing it. Right. That is how I approach ancestral work with that. And I also feel as if there is a spirit of my ancestral line, like a collective spirit, and engage with the spirit of my ancestral line pretty frequently. Probably, I would say daily as well. And that's like a whole other conversation. So I'm going to step down. Morgana.
Hello. I'm a medium, so connecting with, others that aren't on this plane is kind of a regular thing for me. Um, seeing my ancestors, in quote, seeing, interacting with my ancestors, my recently passed ancestors, isn't uncommon for me. So, I felt an urging, a prompting to do more. Because I wanted to connect deeper. So I looked at other people's practices. I did some research. I made an ancestor altar, you know. I basically put things there that my ancestors liked. I had a little offering bowl of things they liked. Some artifacts from when they were living. And I'm not a photograph person, so I didn't have any. But evidently that's one thing that a lot of people use for people that are recently passed, or if they're into genealogy, and it started with simply thanking them and acknowledging them. I love you too, but I'm talking. Acknowledging them for all that they have done so that I can be who I am. All the effort and work and struggle they went through so that I can be who I am, and all of the work they continue to do for me in non-corporeal form to help me. And just showing appreciation and thanks. The more I did that, the more contact I had. The more contact I had, and the more open I was to that, the more I could tailor my practice. The having tea, in my case is coffee, that came about because, several of my grandparents, one of the things they miss is coffee. So when I brew my coffee, I let them have it first. I take it to the ancestor altar. I put it there. They I set it there and I'm like, okay, this is your coffee. They made an agreement with me. They're like, oh, one of my grandmoms was like, that's silly and wasteful for you to just leave it there and then dump it out on the ground. You're going to drink that coffee because that's peak grandma. So we share it, you know. And if I have things I would want to talk about with my grandma, I just talk about things that I would talk about with my grandma. She may not physically be here, but she's still here because the way I view things, she still exists. She exists in a different form currently. And she exists in a form that she chooses to communicate with me in. That didn't happen right away. That happens, after the development of my practice, which, like I said, basis of it, gratitude and, acts of gratitude, words of gratitude, and also meditation. I didn't include that. So nothing terribly unique, But yeah, that's where all my stuff came from. Yeah, that's it.
That helps a lot. Thank you so much, Marvana.
Is it my turn? I think so. Okay. I wrote a couple of things down. So I guess well, actually one thing was like maybe new information. So thanks for the like question. So what pinged for me kind of comes from like this idea, well, like the, full moon kind of illuminating what I wanted to release, what I wanted to kind of shed, what no longer serves me. And then the second part being that I have to act as if that is done, right? So I'm saying it is done, it is done. Why, how that translates is my beliefs about what happens when we leave this plane. I was just thinking how I really don't interact always with my ancestors, always like in the way that where like I feel that they are what like I think happens, meaning it's just like a kind of transformation of energy, but communication is still possible. I mean, and I do still communicate, but I was just it's a brain bucket that I'm gonna be thinking on about how it's a little I feel personally like maybe I'm a little bit disconnected from like what I truly believe happens when I pass and like why aren't I interacting more with the ancestors? So that came up, so that was great. And like genealogy is something that I've been doing at the Boston Public Library, and that's just really fun for me. Like so if it was more like ancestors that were more recent that you could trace back, like the libraries are great, sometimes can be a great help or resource for you. If there's ancestry and all those other things, but start just of your libraries too. Something that I wanted to Morgana just mentioned meditation, and then for Kelly also just asking about incorporating magical practice. And for me, meditation is like is an umbrella term that encompasses a lot of things. One time I had a reading by someone, this was many years ago, and they said, well, why aren't you listening? Like, why aren't you just like, meaning like you're just going about your day, and yes, in the busyness of your day and like your day to day as you're doing stuff, of course you can get syncs and messages that way. But it's finding the times that even if it's 5 minutes, that you could just sit and just breathe, even if it's just sitting and breathing and just asking, like, just ask a question. What is there any information? I'm gonna dedicate these next 5 minutes just to seeing like if anyone, if there's any information or just asking a question. So carving out just those times where you can connect. And then yes, like tarot is a great way, divination can enhance that. It can narrow it down. It can be a helpful tool, but all you really need is yourself and in a spot that maybe is quiet. Um, and that can be a way to connect, just to be like, sometimes we go into it thinking a thing, oh, it needs to look like this or it needs to be this way or that way. But sometimes just saying, I'm open to information from like the ancestors who love me, like, that like how Jen Marie says that in the beginning of her rituals. So I'm not like calling in any strangers, but sometimes at this point in my practice, I might interact with someone that I don't know or a deity that I don't know. And I feel like comfortable doing that. But in the beginning, while you're if that's not something that you've been maybe doing regularly, I would encourage you to first interact with people that you know. But sometimes ancestors can come through way back, Jen Marie has said before, like sometimes we think of ancestors, it's only like those that we can like trace back. So now I'm gonna go into a little different take on it, and like love everything Ezra and Jen Marie and Morgana said, but there's other type of ancestors besides human ones, and like um when we are engaging with the focus of the moon with the season, it is just a prompt, and the intention is to take it where it takes you, is really for you to be intuitive about it. And we all have like these amazing threads of connection with, which I think are awesome. And I'm a response being, like my human design too is very much response. So sometimes I need to hear something in order to then figure out where I sit with it. So sharing that, us all sharing, is very important. Okay. Like there are galactic beings. If you've ever listened to Bashar talk about the Anunnaki, that's like a whole interesting, super cool rabbit hole to go down about like our DNA. You know, there's a lot of other things out there besides the human DNA. So if that's something that pings you, like that's also another rabbit hole and available for you to go down and like connect with. So sometimes the ancestor veneration might take you like that way. So that was all for me. Thank you, Ezra.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up. And I was seeing Coral in the chat saying that like sometimes ancestors are not to be venerated, they're to learn from their mistakes, and doing shadow work on your feelings about what they did and that kind of thing. And it made me immediately kind of think about how like I drew this like parallel to how setting boundaries is actually like the kindest thing you can do for people. And so in a way, like doing the shadow work on things that they did, and drawing your boundaries around who you're not going to interact with ancestrally is also kind of an act of love, if you want to frame it that way. So
Great points. Thank you, sir.
And then there was one thing that I forgot. I was just going to say sometimes the ancestors show up during different times in your experience, like in your magical practice. So for example, like I had a different type of ancestor experience when I was doing my Reiki certification. And I choose not to practice like Reiki in the way that energy work in the way that's Reiki, but I really did love doing the Reiki training and attunement. But during that time, like was really focused of like that I got to have that really focused time in connection. And like I had some great visualizations of that. It was like like standing, like you heard like you standing on the shoulders of like your ancestors, and I could literally like see it, and that was really cool. So it's like that particular experience was aligned like for that type of energy work that I was doing. And so sometimes you can just be doing something and the ancestors show up because, like I said, it might not like it can be, when I say ancestors, like that's a lot, like that's encompassing a lot. It's not just like my immediate ancestors. It might, and like I said, it might not even be all the time human. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone. I think I'm
And
ready for beginning the new topic.
yes, Virginie, did you want to take us off in a new direction?
Yes, I'm not against it. I was just anyway. Me, the subject that I wanted to speak about, a little or a lot, it will depend on if people have to say about it. It's about sleep But I'll explain quickly. I don't know the expression in English, but in a basic translation, it would be social house where I'm living. Where I'm living in some place where we get help. There is a social worker who work downstairs, their apartments and all of those things. And this social house, there is only people with neurodiversity that lives there, whether it's autism, TDAH, or other things. And when speaking with them, I noted that they all have a relationship with sleep that is a bit complicated. Some of them need medication to be able to go to sleep at normal hours. If not, they are derailed for all the week, in fact. And I was curious if it was the case for you all too. I myself, basically, I'm either I sleep very well at night, and I have. I wouldn't say I have a lot of energy in the day, but I can do things. Or I have difficulties to go to sleep, and in the day I think you get what I mean. And so I was curious about you two. I saw you, Ezra, about how it is for you.
I can go first. Um, Sleep is interesting for me too. The work schedule that I have and my preferred sleep schedule don't align. So, um, I would prefer to stay up till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Eastern time, and sleep till like 10 or 11, which sometimes I do. Um, I, yeah, I guess I don't really know where I am with it because part of me feels like I know I can get into a routine and align my circadian rhythms but then part of me is like, why are you doing that? That's not what you want to do. So like I don't really have an answer, but that's kind of what I feel about it. And then yeah, a lot of times I will say though, I have kind of made shifts in my work environment. I have made shifts to accommodate as much as possible. And for I just I'm kind of at this phase in my life where I feel a little bit more like feral than I ever have. And I'm just like, I'll just tell my boss, like, I'm not doing that. So like, and I did, like, and nothing bad has happened, meaning like I haven't got fired or anything like that. I mean, it's not that I'm not, and I'm going off in another way. So let me bring it back. As it's not that I'm not like fulfilling my responsibilities. I'm just kind of setting things up as much as possible in a way that feels aligned, even though the job like may not feel perfectly aligned, if that makes sense. So I try to make shifts in my day-to-day life that I can as much stay on my preferred schedule. It's also interesting because when I visit the witches in the Pacific Northwest, my sleep time is like what would be considered more normal time. So I'm like, oh, I'm just like regular now, like on the West Coast. Um, I yeah, and then there's just like the piece of it where is, like I think engaging in the questions, which is like, what am I doing at night? Like, why, am I dissociating? I definitely have like that, there's a name, a term for it, like when you finally feel free and so you're staying up. Like I sometimes I do feel that like, oh, like the world is asleep and I can do what I want. And um, so I think it's just kind of mindful of like how I'm spending that time. Like, um, am I like dissociating during those times, and if I am, why? And how can I capture more of what I fill my day of more what I want to do? Which then in turn would like reflect that sleep part as well. So I don't know if that was helpful. That's kind of where I am with it. Thank you for the question.
I'll go. Let's see. I've always been a night person, like since I was a kid. And I think a lot of it is like, I think some of it anyway is like what Maria was saying, is that like that I felt like that was my free time. Like everybody else is asleep, I can do what I want. But I also think it's a little deeper than that. Like everything is quieter at night, like energetically. It feels uh it just feels so much more peaceful than during the day. I get plenty of rest though. I think I have a hard time getting to sleep sometimes, but that's melatonin has really helped with that. And I've started to like have a bedtime, like a suggested bedtime that I call closing time. That is like 3 a.m. was like if I'm doing something if I'm talking to somebody, I wrap it up and then start like a bedtime routine. Um, I also do a lot of like I do naps instead, or like that kind of rhythm that you'll sleep for like 3 hours, wake up for a while, and then go back to sleep for 4 or 5 hours or something. Um, that is actually a style of sleeping that was pretty popular at some point in human history. Um, and like it always makes me think of hobbits, like second sleep um instead, and that ends up working well for me a lot of the time. Otherwise I noticed that once I get the momentum of sleep, I will sleep for a long time, and that actually makes me way more tired the rest of the time. So making sure I don't sleep too long is also another thing, because I enjoy it, and I'm sure I'm doing tons of fun astral things in my dreams, and like astral me is just like a little longer. And yeah, that's it. And I love sleeping during the day. Like I'm very cat-like. I will find sunlight and sleep in it. Um and that's very cozy for me. But at night it feels like when the sun goes down, similar to this time of year, like it feels like when the sun goes down I wake up, and that's just how my brain is. So yeah. Hmm. I like this question. My grandpa used to call it day and night people, because my grandma is a super morning person. Like she is just like up in the morning at like what 5 a.m. and then just going strong until the sun goes down and then she's done. Right.
My
And so yeah.
my mother is like that too. Very, very like that. Yes.
Right. And so for a while I was like, I don't know if I'm like doing this like in rebellion of this. But I think there's just day and night people. And I think it also makes sense for that to be the case, like considering we need like human history and like we needed all kinds to be awake to like watch the fire or something, or like, you know, that kind of thing. That's how I imagine it anyway. So like I'm definitely from the portion of people that was night shift. So I specifically chose night shift whenever I could in my life. So I enjoyed that. So, and that's what my partner is on right now. So it really ends up working out well. And yeah, so who else wants to talk about sleep? Or we can also do a subject change. But if you have anything else, Virginie, about that subject or
Not exactly. It's just, but I read articles on the internet and the fact that there are different circadian rhythms about sleep, and with the society rhythm, and about working in the day or working in the night, and it's very all the same hour to start for everyone, the same hour to finish for everyone. I felt like it was like for a lot of things, or there is some way of thinking, some way of doing things that is allowed by society. And I felt that maybe about sleep, there might be something like that for it too. And so having a good relationship with ourselves sleeping, it might need a lot of work on ourselves to just be ourselves. In fact, come back to ourselves. That's all.
I also had this idea recently to make a little altar to like sleep and dreams right next to my bed, to improve my relationship with sleep and then, you know, manifest things for in my dreams and stuff like that. So because I noticed like at some point I walked into my room like right after meditating and noticed that there was just a bunch of junk on my bedside table. And I was like, none of that belongs there. This is my bedside table. That's like, it's supposed to be, you know, like it's not supposed to be, but it could be, you know, indicative of it being a bedside table. Like it could have that vibe. So I can make it look like that rather than having like mail that I need to take care of on it when there's a place for mail. So go ahead, Maria. Or
Thanks. Yeah, pass it to Kelly has a weigh in first. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi. Yeah, so kind of related, something that Silver just said, just improving relationship with sleep and dreams and things like that. So it's kind of a weigh-in on what Virginia was saying, and maybe a little bit of a tangent, but just about dreams. My quality of sleep varies depending on how I dream. And I generally, I would say, I guess, have a pretty normal bedtime, wake up time. I don't have a lot of trouble falling asleep. But sometimes if I dream, it's like I'm up all night doing stuff, and then it's not restful at all. And so I have tried sort of. I'm trying to wrap my head around just developing a better relationship with my dreams and trying to harness that, versus just being mad that my sleep is not restful because I'm dreaming. But I'd be curious to know if others have similar, like, how do you handle dreaming when it's like you're up? It's so sometimes it's like I'm watching a movie, and sometimes I am doing things, and I have very good recall and things like that. Um, Sometimes they're sort of relevant to what's going on, sometimes they're not, but it's just a very busy night sometimes.
So I can weigh in on that too. I wanted to share my tea with you. One thing that has helped my sleep is I do drink this Lucid Dreams. This is from Magic Hour. I'm a big fan of their teas. This is an apothecary jar. You do not have to get it in this jar. You can get it in a little pouch. Even the pouches, let me just show you what those look like. I should really work there because I talk about them so much. But I mean, any tea, you can, this is like what the little pouches look like, just so. But this is Tulsi tea, or known as holy basil. Obviously, other places the Magic Hour have it. But it's Tulsi tea, which is called holy basil, organic turmeric, organic ginger, organic cinnamon, organic nutmeg, organic cardamom, organic black pepper, organic clove, natural flavors. Holy basil tea is like really amazing for you if you're interested to go down, like look that up. When I engage in like my nighttime ritual, which is like very simple, it definitely includes like lotions and potions on my face and drinking tea. I have to kind of be careful of tea too, because I just want to get up and be peeing all night. So like just be mindful of the timing of that. But that tea really does help me. Other people mention like medications being helpful for them. Kelly, the one thing I guess I could say about that is a tricky one because like you're sleeping, and we've talked often a lot about setting boundaries with your spirit team and stuff like that. And I wonder if you kind of incorporated that into your bedtime routine and say, okay, I'm open to like talking, whoever, whatever, visiting with your ancestors, astral travel, whatever it is you're doing. But to say like I need enough REM sleep also so that I feel rested. Like I wonder if you kind of set that intention of like that, setting that I do need to, engage in the restful part of the sleep so that, I have things to do. So I don't know if that resonates or if anyone else has advice for that, but that was just the one thing I was like setting some boundaries with it, maybe. Ezra.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience. I haven't like there is a couple of times where I've like requested specifically before I sleep that I like remember my dreams. And then I think I had a similar experience in that like it felt like I hadn't I feel like I've been doing so much work, like I was burning the candle at both ends, that at some point I said, you know what, actually, I just would like to get as good of sleep as I can, like as good a rest. Like I want to wake up feeling refreshed. And if that means that I don't remember my dreams, that's okay. And something that's been happening recently is that I will, rather than remembering the whole dream, because sometimes they're so like long and intricate, that I will just wake up and the whole dream will just like be slipping away, and I'll just receive a nugget. Like I get to remember a small thing, like a little fortune cookie, like of the whole dream. And that's been helpful. And then it also, like for my dream journal, I, don't have to write down quite so much. And then in contrast, if there is a larger dream that I remember, that it makes it like that I can look into a lot more. But I've been trying to cultivate that relationship with my dreams. Like it feels very important. And as I'm learning tarot and applying like all the archetypes to my life, I start to like, you know, take what I remember and apply the archetypes to get, you know, to get more of like the symbolism of what that dream might be telling me and that kind of thing. And if I were to have vivid dreams every single night and remember, you know, multiple paragraphs of this and tried to analyze it, that would be a lot of energy and work, which is fine. But I think one of the taps that I keep getting is to rest more. And there was even a meditation that I think about too, that Maria did, where there was a candle and mine was already lit. And when we went in there, like, and then I ended up making another candle to light, because part of the meditation was lighting the candle. And I got like the message essentially that like I always have like a candle on, like I'm burning, like I'm not blowing out a candle. Like there's a boundary there that I'm not making, which again is fine, but it might be part of the tiredness, like a burning the candle at both ends type of vibe. So now, and it's because I love doing like I love doing magic, I love doing all this stuff, but I also creating those internal boundaries with myself so that I have specific times for specific things, and then scheduling in rest and self-care and all those things that, you know, I was brought up to think were not important and that you could just not do. And times when I'm not like actively, like my light isn't on, right? So I think treating the dreams like that and just cultivating more of a relationship with boundaries and kind of this back and forth between them, like almost like it's a conversation between my subconscious and my conscious, like that is helpful for me. Honestly, anything I can frame as a conversation is helpful for me because I'm a Gemini. but that is useful. I hope that resonated for some people. Go ahead, Maria.
And kind of back to something I referenced the other time, sometimes like the sleep, when our brain is in that state, is when we can receive the messages. So sometimes creating the space to receive the messages, and other times your guides know, or they know that they can reach you in other ways, right? We don't have to be, you know, a line out the door when you go to sleep, so that, you know, you can get the messages that they've been waiting to tell you. So yeah, I mean, maybe that would help or not, but it just kind of pinged me to say, like, you know, even if it's 15 minutes in the day to just do a meditation, and like I said, I use the meditation, that word loosely. It could just be sitting in a quiet space and like breathing, or just go take off your shoes and stand in the grass for 5 minutes, stand in the sunlight, and just, you know, just say any messages out there for me, or like any information that, you know, I could receive. Like now would be a great time. I'm in a great space to do that. That's all.
And that reminded me too, like that, similar to the reason that I like staying up at night is because it's really bright. Like I mean, part of it is I'm sure because I live in Florida. I've lived here most of my life. And so it is bright outside. Like that is too bright for me. I don't like it. It's like I like a little sunlight and then I'm kind of done. And so I have been embracing just, you know, laying in the dark. Like I've always done it, but like recently, like with Ocean during our calls, I just like will lay in the dark, like they can't see me. Like, and I'm just like, I didn't used to do that because I felt like that was like inappropriate or something for like a Zoom call. But I'm just like, I really like just sitting in the dark, and that I always have. And it's very restful for my eyes. And also for the whole last week, I've been waking up with a headache. And it's toward, I told my partner that it's like toward like the back of my head. And and they said that that might be like because my eyes are tired. And I was like, oh, okay, I have been like up and doing things a lot. And so literally I need to like spend some time in the dark, like, you know, not have my candle lit in order to rest fully. So, which, you know, the part of my brain that doesn't want to be in the sunlight makes sense. But obviously, like when it comes to doing magical stuff, like that takes a little bit, like it's a learning curve, I guess. Go ahead, Maria.
I was just going to share for those that like, since Ezra brought up the candle, sorry, I need to move my location. Since Ezra brought up that, I'm just going to go off camera so I don't make anybody dizzy. Since you brought up that the candle lighting, I just wanted to give some more background on that in case anyone is interested. In a way, since I like in a way that you could engage during the time when you were awake, is that was kind of out of a practice that I used to do before I would start doing tarot readings or mediumship, as a way to kind of set the space. And it was something that, you know, someone gave me like prompts, and then I just kind of made it my own. But one of the ways that I set boundaries, and I don't do it so much now, but I feel like maybe the boundaries are established now at this point. But when I was establishing them, I wanted a way to tell spirit when I was like really available and when I wasn't. And also, like, if I was doing a reading for somebody else, like that was kind of an invitation. And so, in my mind's eye, I would do some deep breaths. I would do a bit of a countdown. And the way that it goes for me is just like a countdown. It's an old movie screen, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like how that used to flash up. And then I walk through a forest. And basically wherever I go, but it always leads to the same staircase. And I walk up the staircase, there's a statue of an angel, and there is a candle. And in Ezra's case, the candle was already lit. But I light the candle to signify that I am in a place that I'm open to receiving communication. And then when I'm done, I go back up and I blow the candle out, as not to say like that I'm closed off, but that I'm going to engage in like my human life, and that I might not be, you know, might be focused on something else. And I though don't feel, I know like others have shared where like spirit communication has been like really like felt like really intrusive, and that other like boundaries had to be set. I'm not in the place where like I feel it's intrusive or interruptive. So that kind of method that I described like just has worked for me. But it can be very personal, and there's lots of stuff out there like that. Little quick 5-minute things that you could do. And for those of us that we do work a regular job and then we come home and then like we're tired, and we might not want to like do anything that maybe feels like work or feels like too elaborate. Incorporating something before sleep, like a bedtime routine that even can be 15 minutes, that could be a great way to start a magical practice. And then engaging, that way. So I feel like that kind of all ties in with everything that we've been talking about. Yeah. I like doing little exercises like that because like a lot of us intellectualize a lot and like overthink. I mean, I will think something to the nth degree and explore the 5,000 possibilities of it. Um, Sometimes being more intuitive, it feels like a can feel scary, but it can feel like a breath, like like just a relief because like I don't have to plan anything. I don't have to think about anything. I can just sit here, show up and sit here and like be magical and like yes. And so sometimes like asking for messages, like I'll do little meditations. I think we've done it before where like I might do the same thing. I might go the same staircase, light my candle, then I might see like a box or a treasure chest sitting, and I'm extremely visual in my mind's eye, so I know other people experience in other ways. And so if you need to touch something or feel something, here, those are all super valid ways to do stuff too. But sometimes I'll just like visualize a box or like a treasure chest and just be like, the message or the synchronicity or the symbol I need is in here. So I'll just visualize that and I'll say, what is it? And then just open it and then just see what's there. And so it's a way to just kind of interact. And I will also say that it is like exercising like when you with a muscle memory. The more you engage that way, you figure out how your system works in that way by trying different things. And not that your guides are ever not like there for you, but when you engage in an intentional way, you are going to start to that is it's just I feel like it will start to happen more just because you're intentionally interacting with it. So it comes through maybe a little differently, maybe more often, maybe a little bit louder. Um, it can. That's just been my experience. Like I can tell like when I haven't like I was at friend's house the other night for the full moon and I did a release ritual with my friends, which was really cool because that was the first time I'd done anything like that with my friends. And they're like, "Will you do my cards?" And I don't really like reading for other people anymore. Um, I but I don't mind if they ask me a question, but like those long readings where it's like the whole year and stuff like that, I don't know. It's just not vibing with me right now. So but I like the way we do it. Like I like how Jen Marie does like the two cards during the lives. But anyways, I was like, well, if you ask me a question, we can pick some cards. And it was just like, oh, like it just took me a minute, to kind of get back into it because I hadn't done it for a while. Um, and when I was doing it more often, like that just connection just happens a little bit faster. Not that I didn't get there, I did. It just I could feel like, you know, that it took me a moment. And I had some imposter syndrome. I was like, can I still do this? Can I still read tarot cards? And then I just did the thing and it was fine. And sometimes I'm like, they were like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm kind of relaying or when it's for friends, I think, sorry, I'm going off in another way. Thanks for letting me just talk. But like when it's for friends and you know them, sometimes I think like, oh, like you're gonna think I knew that already because we're friends. So it's like not as like valid, but it is totally valid. But anyways, that's why I was having like that imposter syndrome, like that they wouldn't think that I like because I know them and I know so much about their lives. But it was great. And I'm kind of just shooting the shit. So if anyone else wants to jump in. We still have 15 minutes. And it's already starting to get dark on the East Coast. For me, anyways, the Northeast. It's only 3:45 p.m. Eastern. Now I got that song in my head. The sun goes down on my side of town. That TikTok song. Virginie said something. And I was like, oh, no, that's the song. That dance that they did. I think I'd like to do it like a TikTok dance someday. We should get next if we're all together sometime. Next time we have a convergence, we should do one.
Totally. There's a lot of memes that can totally apply to things that we're talking about. So
Mm-hmm. So I'm using a new app, a sky app, because I've been trying to chase the northern lights and going out during those times. So I got an alert that a meteor shower might be visible tonight. So I don't know if anyone is interested in that, but I know some of us are live in like areas where there's a lot of light pollution. But it said the Leonids meteor shower is visible tonight. Maybe. It's early though, like says I was highest at 5 a.m. Anyhow, you never know. I did go out to see if I could see the Northern Lights one night, a couple nights ago, and I saw a shooting star, and that was cool. Like I turned around and then it happened, and I was like, yeah. So I've been Googling how to like take like better pictures of the moon with my phone and stuff. Um, and like I go outside sometimes at night and with my Sky app and like look for the planets. So it's just kind of a new hobby that I've been into, if anyone else is into that. And sometimes I'm like in bed and I'm like, should go like out and look up because what this time of year, the stars are just so like brilliant when it's like, I don't know, with the cool air and when it's just really dark and the stars, it's just really nice. But
yeah, I've been
yeah,
wanting to go to the beach to look at stars at night sometime. Maybe I'll do that soon because there's like the big planetary shift that's happening right now, and was thinking of ways to just mark that occasion and stuff. When I was in middle school, I had the science teacher named Mr. Guy, and he had he basically got us so into astronomy that like almost the entire class showed up at the beach at like 4 a.m. to like with their parents and everything to go look at whatever star constellation stuff was happening, and I remember that like very clearly. So yeah, that was my astrology interest being born.
yes.
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, so I'm like pretty much as far north and east as far north of Florida, but you can be without being Georgia, and then all the way to the east coast. So about 20 minutes from the beach.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome being that close to the beach. I found this little lake near my house and that's been the spot. And like if you do decide to go, um I've gone a couple times and I've met the nicest people there, like doing the same thing I'm doing, and it's been so cool, like just such an unexpected thing. Um, like I met these two really nice ladies. I almost like asked for their phone numbers. Like I should have it. I'm like, should we like stay in a group chat so we can just like alert each other about, like events? Because the Northern Lights, when they pop off, like they're time limited. Like they might only pop off for 30 minutes. So I'm a little bit like I really got excited about it when it was October 10th, I think. Um, it was just incredible. Like I could see them with the naked eye. Like it was like a show, like a light show. And I couldn't believe it was like like I walked outside and then it's like this huge red beam. And I went into, I'm like to my boyfriend, I'm like, you have to come outside. And he's like looking at me like, because I'm always like, you have to look at this. And I'm like, no, like I knocked on my neighbor's door. I'm like, everybody needs to be outside right now. So um and it was it was amazing. And but it was only like, and it lasted like, there's like substorm, so it lasted throughout the night, but like that initial when it popped off, it was so bright. And it like that there was another time in May and I missed it. But and Ezra, did you see them that time in May? I know like Wit saw them. Like there was people saw Northern Lights all over the country that day.
I don't think so. I didn't see them. I went out inside and checked a few different times. But there are pictures that people have taken from different places in Florida like that. So like I think it was even visible here at certain points, but I missed them, unfortunately. I'm still really looking forward to seeing the Aurora Borealis at some point for sure.
So if y'all are interested in it, if y'all are in TikTok, there's a meteorologist that's retired, but his name is Todd Gross. He's on TikTok, and that's how I learned. And kind of he will look at the reports and be like, tell you if it's worth going out. But usually you have to have a clear view to the north. Like you want like to be able to see the horizon to the north. Sometimes when they really pop off so big, like sometimes it doesn't matter because you can like see them, but generally you want to have like a clear view of the horizon to the north. But yeah, Todd Gross on TikTok, and now I'm in like now I'm in a Facebook group, like Northern Lights. So
That's so awesome.
Petra.
Hey, Petra.
As like like in my family growing up, that was like space was the thing. That was my dad's version of neurodivergence. Like I saw Halley's Comet when I was a kid, and he would drag us out to like every like solar eclipse and like lunar eclipse, like all these different things. So like we did a lot of space stuff. It's really what you were talking about with the like Leonids. If you look at like the meteor shower schedules, every year there's clusters of them because there's like the Taurids just happened like 2 weeks ago, but the fall is like there's tons. Like it's like Scorpio Sagittarius season, and there's a couple I think in the winter. So if anyone's like, I've never seen a shooting star, well, you just have to schedule it because it's like then you can just like, and then that also gives you like the opportunity, like if the weather isn't clear, there are other ones that will be like coming up. It's a matter of like the concentration and like you said, like the time of night where you'll get the most density. And usually like they're like 2.5, 3 days or something like that. But then there's like a focal point of like this like 4 hour like span, you'll probably see like 10 in an hour or something like that, like depending. So it's really cool. But the other thing is, it's so funny to me. I think growing up in Canada, being like, oh, right, like the Northern Lights are just not like a thing for everyone. Because I grew up like laying in snowbanks just watching them like my entire childhood. That was like when I talk about co-regulating with the night sky, that's like half of it. Like I love them, but we don't ever get the red ones. We get like the greeny, yellowy, kind of more like bluey, whatever they are, those ones. And so I was gonna say with like the 1 second. With the like um with all the storms, get on Facebook because there are tons of people, like there are Northern Lights groups like for all of British Columbia where I live, and the like yes, definitely breaking. But those are always really helpful because people will be able to like kind of your geographic area, they'll be able to help you out that way. And really does have to do with like the north thing is because it's about the poles. So it's like that the like influence of the magnetism of the poles. So it's fun. Anywho, that was my little like nerd facts. Also, Night Sky, if you're looking for constellations and things, is a really cool app. And I find AccuWeather, that's my weather app. It gives me notifications about like super moons and the like meteor showers that are happening. So like that one's actually really nice for like it autopilots and it's like, hey, did you want to know about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's happening like this week. So if anyone wants those things, yeah. I gotta go to a play now though, so I'm gonna see everybody later.
Bye.
Hopefully I'll have a good week. Bye, friends.
Well, we have 4 minutes. If there's any last. Is anyone else interested in that side of like astrology or like real, but actually like seeing the planets in the sky and whatever it's astrophotography? I learned that word. I didn't know that was a word.
I know Alicia's taken some really good pictures
Yeah.
on Facebook. So yeah, it's very, very cool. Let's see. It made me think again about, so on November 19th, Pluto is going into Aquarius. Like, so it's ending like this, a 16-year cycle of Pluto going into Capricorn. Since Ocean isn't here, I'll give the astrology update. But yeah, so it's really interesting how my dreams, since we were talking about dreams, have been giving me like so Capricorn is like the father figure sign, and so like a lot of times it's associated with like patriarchy, specifically like in a big context, like not that everybody who's has Capricorn in their chart, but it's interesting now, like my dreams have been so geared toward like father figures in my life. So like literally my dad, my biological dad and my stepdad, and then like teachers and stuff like that were like fulfilled that kind of emperor archetype type of thing in my life. And it's interesting to see how it feels like there was one of my dreams, my dad and I were in the car driving to the airport, and he was completely unconcerned, and I was like, I'm going to be late, I'm going to miss my flight, which I've often described is my like worst mundane fear, is to miss a flight. And then I missed it, and like again, he was just completely unconcerned. So it was like, it felt like that plane is leaving, like that. It felt like that was like the end. It was like the last bit of like squeezing whatever is I don't know, coming out in these last few days of that Capricorn Pluto energy. So yeah, we are less than a minute away from closing. This is a great discussion, you guys. Thank you for bringing up your questions and participating and listening and just showing up. So thank you, Maria.
Thanks for modding today, Ezra. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Love you guys. Have a good one.
Love you. Bye.